there everyone, this is Alex from Artificer Studios. This past weekend was Confusion, one of the main conventions I go to here in the Detroit area. And it was actually a special occasion because I was judging the costume contest this year, and it was actually the 10th anniversary of the first time I ever entered a convention costume contest. So I decided to rework one of my favorite costumes, which was Thor from the first MCU Thor movie. I had originally built it in 2011 to wear for PenguinCon, which is one of the other main conventions I go to. But when I reworked it this past April to wear it down to Gen Con, I simply just spray painted the entire thing black. It worked for Gen Con, but I knew it wasn't going to last much longer past that because the paint had never fully cured. So when I got it home and opened it up out of the bag, the costume had actually stuck to itself and started ripping some of the material apart. So to rework it, I was going to use the original suit as a pattern to be able to create the new pieces. So over the next few weeks I'm going to release a few videos so you guys can see exactly how I went about recreating this suit. Since I had done it before, I knew I could do a lot quicker, which was good because I decided to rebuild this on January 2nd. So I had just over 2 weeks to be able to rebuild 80% of Thor. So, here we go. Hope you guys enjoy it. So here are my boot covers from the original. Since they're identical, just reversed, all I have to do is take apart one of them. And from looking at the current design of Thor's boots, really all I'll have to change the design for is the front. I'm going to take it from this rounded part to just squaring it off, but it has a little V shape in it. So what I'm actually going to do is the exact same thing, but this I'm just going to continue straight up with a smaller V. It will come out and then angle down. So I'm just going to take one of these, rip it apart, and use that as my pattern. So I'm not going to bother taking anything else for the back apart. I'm not going to do anything with the Velcro. The front, I'm going to rip that apart first, so I can get just the section I want to use. So there are my pieces. And then I'm going to get a piece of paper. Since they're the same, I only need to do it to one of these. So what I'm going to do is trace it. So here's the outline of my existing piece. That looks pretty good to what he has. So now I can cut that pattern piece out, but I have to remember to cut it out leaving edge for my seam allowance. And there we go. So now I'll use this and this as my pattern pieces. This one I'll still have to add the allowance around the edge, but I'm not going to bother tracing out a new pattern piece for it. So for the boot covers, I'm using the same material I used last time, which is a black marine boat vinyl. So for this, I have to, since I'm doing 2 boot covers, I have to cut 2 of these and 4 of these. But I have to make sure I cut either side of these. And what I'll actually do is put this right up against the other one so that I can cut it out as a single piece and then just cut straight down the middle seam and I'll have two pieces. So for these, I'm tracing directly on the edge. So when I cut it, I have to worry about my seam allowance. So you can see here it's very close, but when I cut through here, that just means that's now my hem allowance. Go. There's one piece for the new boot cover ready to be sewn. So I'm going to do that to the rest of them, or as many as I can that I have pins for, and then we'll start sewing them together. We'll hem them first and then start sewing them together. So here we go. So I have here all of my pieces cut, folded and pinned, ready to get stitched. It was pretty just straightforward. Just put it in, stitch them, take the pins out, keep going. One down, 5 to go. Okay, so now that I've gotten all the pieces stitched, I have to assemble the fronts. To make sure I get it lined up properly, I'm going to use the original so I know the spacing. So now there should be one boot top, but I'm going to line them up a little bit so the top is even. There we go. Now I have to do the same thing for the other one, but I have to do it in reverse. Now when those are laid on top of each other, they should be just about the same. So those will get stitched together, and then I'll stitch the backs on. And I'm just going to double check again. So what I've done is created a additional piece to add onto the top of the boot cover. It'll help stiffen it up a little bit, but if you look at the picture of his boot, it actually does have this little raised portion on the back. It's a detail you won't really be able to see unless you get right up next to the boot and look at them, but it's something that I wanted to do. I was thinking of trying to do something to stiffen the boot up anyway, just so that this doesn't flap down at some point, so this will help with that. There we have one completed set of boot covers. So that's how I made the boot covers to wear with Thor. Very simple, only took about 4 hours. So, next time I'm going to go over how I made the bracers to go with the same Thor costume. Very similar process to the boot cover, so it's not that difficult. Stay tuned for more videos to come. Thanks for watching Drummer Artificer Studios. See you next time.